President Trump says, "Someone please tell Pope Leo that Iran has spied at least 42,000 innocent, completely unarmed protesters in the last 2 months." That's in Iran now. They've spied 42,000 people that are protesting in their own country in the last 2 months. President Donald Trump has posted on Truth Social urging others to inform Pope Leo that Iran allegedly spied 42,000 unarmed protesters in the past 2 months. Well, what's Pope Leo supposed to do? I don't understand. While declaring that an Iranian nuclear bomb is absolutely unacceptable. This statement continues Trump's public feud with the Pope. Oh, he has an issue with the Pope, okay. Who has called for peace, criticized US military actions against Iran, and urged resistance and dialogue over threats and violence. You don't dialogue with terrorists, Mr. Pope Leo, you don't, well, Trump can never like you. Because how can you be dialoguing with terrorists, with a terrorist group? That's a no-go area. The Post frames Trump's position as morally superior to the Pope's, arguing that the Vatican focus on condemning American threats ignores the brutality of the Iranian regime. Do you get? Have you told those ones to not fight, to not buy people? You're fighting Trump because he's fighting these people. Really? You ignore the brutality of the Iranian regime, and that the Pope's criticism is therefore misplaced, naive, or both. The claim that Iran has spied 42,000 unarmed protesters in the past 2 months is extraordinary and, if true, would represent one of the largest state massacres of civilians in recent history. How many people there for Iran where you can't buy 42,000 people? You want to govern yourself alone? You want to govern yourself alone? The problem is that the figure is disputed and not supported by independent verification from human rights organizations. Of course, we don't want to say the truth before. International observers or media outlets that have been tracking protests and state violence in Iran. Estimates of protest-related deaths in Iran vary widely, depending on the source and the time frame, with independent human rights groups reporting figures that range from over 7,000 to around 30,000 for the entire period since major unrest began. No, not just the past 2 months. Trump's figure of 42,000 in 2 months is significantly higher than any credible estimate. But you give estimate of 30,000 to 42,000. What's it remain for there? What's it remain? Excuse me. Trump's figure of 42,000 in 2 months is significantly higher than any credible estimate and appears to be either an exaggeration, a misstatement, or based on intelligence that has not been made public or verified by independent sources. The use of a disputed or inflated casualty figure to make political arguments is a tactic that serves to justify military actions, delegitimize criticism, and create a moral framework where the US is defending innocent people against a brutal regime. Whether the actual number of protesters by the 7,000, 30,000, or 42,000, the violence is real exactly, and the Iranian government's suppression of dissent is well documented. But the credibility of the argument depends on the accuracy of the numbers, and when those numbers cannot be verified, the argument becomes easier to dismiss or to question. The declaration that an Iranian nuclear bomb is absolutely unacceptable is consistent with US policy across multiple administrations. But the timing and context, following weeks of military strikes, a naval blockade, and threats to destroy Iranian infrastructure, it makes it clear that Trump is not just stating a red line. He is justifying ongoing and future actions by framing the nuclear issue as an existential threat that cannot be tolerated. Really, he's framing it. Wow. Regardless of the cost or consequences of preventing it, the direction of the post towards Pope Leo is the most pointed aspect of the statement. Trump is not just making a case to the American public or to the international community. He is directly challenging the Pope's moral authority and credibility by suggesting that the Pope is either ignorant of or indifferent to the atrocities committed by the Iranian regime. The implication is that the Pope's criticism of American military action is hypocritical or misguided because it focuses on the actions of the US while ignoring or downplaying the actions of a regime that buys its own people by the thousands. Is that supposed to be so at all? The people's position, as articulated in previous statements, is not that Iran is blameless or that its human rights record is acceptable. It is that war, threats to civilian infrastructure, and the pursuit of regime change through violence are not the answers to Iran's brutality, and that they often make the situation worse rather than better. The Pope's focus is on the means being used and the principles that should govern the use of force, not on a refusal to acknowledge that Iran's government commits atrocities. Trump's framing conflicts, criticism of US policy with endorsement of Iranian violence, a rhetorical move designed to discuss the Pope's position rather than engage with it substantively. King says, Pope, did you hear that from our daddy? Nice, Trump, a leader indeed. Carry go, God is with you. Because really, the Pope cannot be saying that. You don't negotiate with terrorists. You don't dialogue with them. You don't dialogue with people that they are buying. You don't dialogue with them. No, they just arrest, they just kidnap anybody, buy anybody that they like. So why should they be doing dialogue with them? That one is a no-no for me. As Kpai says, Mr. Trump, but your government is part and parcel of this chaos in Iran. You said that you are sent guns to protesters, only that they landed in the wrong lands. They landed in the wrong lands, none. This is how chaotic Western powers can. They sin against you and call you the sinner. Ali says, what about you that buy over 200 schoolgirls? What about the weapons that you sent to illegal protesters to buy people and fuel the crisis in Iran? So because you gave them gun, you fueled the crisis. People are not even serious. But Pani Raphael says, I have something to say or no. Why do Americans want a change of government in Iran when they maintain and support some dictators in Africa? There are some countries in Africa that have lost elections and forced victory on themselves, and yet Americans still support them. What do they want from Iran? Iran is a terrorist country and they want to wipe them off. That is what they are looking for. All these countries that they support in Africa who also are buying down citizens, not doing a bad thing. That one where you did go, I don't know, you don't go far. My listeners, don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe. Thank you for listening. See you some other time. Bye.